Hey guys, welcome to Bird Brothers, two brothers in Ohio, lifelong Eagles fans. If you don't know, the Eagles are now 7-0 for the first time since 2004. We just took down the Pittsburgh Steelers at home pretty handedly. We're going to discuss a little bit of that, talk a little bit of Robert Quinn, talk a little bit about Eagles overall. So, Ryan, what's your initial thoughts after watching us defeat Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's a little bit of what I expected. As far as the big plays, I know we haven't had a lot of that, but that's what the Steelers are known for giving up. They give up a lot of big plays. I expected them to have a pretty good day through the air. Not that good. I didn't predict Jalen to come out and throw 4 touchdowns or 3 of them to beat AJ Brown, but they did a very good job, and I think it's going to be hard. And their defense is beat up. They're obviously missing their best player and TJ Watt. Overall, they got some pretty decent pressure. I think a lot of it was there was one where I think it's kind of on Hurts where he could have stepped into the pocket a little sooner. But for the most part, I think a couple of them were just coverage sacks. But overall, it was kind of what I expected as far as putting up some big numbers on offense against them, especially not having TJ Watt. But yeah, I really like it. Like what we're doing. Normally, I'm a complainer about running the ball. I want to run the ball, but if they can't stop the pass, then why not? Just keep slinging it. So, really happy. The only downside coming out is the Jordan Davis injury. We haven't heard really what's going on there. I think it's an ankle, not a leg. They called it a leg injury before, so that could be definitely positive. So, worst case, broken ankle, high ankle sprain, something like that. But hopefully not. But I'm just glad it wasn't a knee. So yeah, overall, man, really good performance. They really didn't do a lot. I didn't expect them to. I expect the Steelers to probably move on from Canada, their offense coordinator. They're like probably overall dead last in the league offensively. They showed some of those stats. The Eagles have scored more points in the second quarter than they've scored all year. That was something they showed on the broadcast. But yeah, great game overall. Another win. Steelers have not beat us in Philly since 1965.
Jeez. So, first thing I want to mention about the Eagles, kind of how they beat the Steelers, but overall, what I love about this team, and I am a little superstitious, so I don't want to talk about the grand finale and stuff, but or winning it all. But what I love about this team is we win football games different ways.
Yeah.
And today was another example of that. I've never seen this team, score 4 touchdowns of 25 plus yards, attacking vertically. Yeah, 3 were to AJ Brown. Zach Pascal got in on the action. Goddard wasn't really featured today, hardly at all. Sanders, 10 yards rushing in the first half. Second half, they start giving him the ball because we're controlling the game. He runs for 70 yards.
Right.
So Devontae Smith, is a beast. We just got so many options, but we win football games in different ways. Versus Jacksonville, we got down 14-0. It's a monsoon. It's raining. We come back. We win from behind. We handled the best pass rusher in football with Dallas. We added this new wrinkle off the RPO, so we weren't even blocking Micah Parsons. We handled him. We crossed those bridges. The Vikings, they played all zone. Jalen just sat back and picked them apart. Looked great. I can't even recall all the games, but just seeing us win multiple different ways, dominating people really fast, falling behind, coming back in the rain. We've done it running the football. We've done it passing the football. Today we did it passing the football deep down the field.
Right.
What I was just telling Ryan before we jumped on here, man, just having those types of plays, those deep balls, and not just throwing them downfield, executing them for touchdowns, executing the plays having those on tape, teams can no longer play us. They can try. They can't play us the way that Tampa Bay played us last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay last year smothered us. They had fast, athletic linebackers. They smothered us. We had Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Everything's, over the middle, short. Jalen's more evolved. Our passing game is more evolved. And so that's a big plus for me because teams are going to have to back off. And what do like
It's a
encourage
to defend. I mean, we saw they stopped it multiple times. Tony Romo speaks highly of it. This whole read option where you have, the threat of the running back, threat of the quarterback, but now you also have, it's not a pitch or whatever, it's a throw. It's very, very difficult to defend. And you saw over and over what they did. If Fitzpatrick or their strong safety came down into the box, they would take a shot downfield. If they dropped him back, they would just run the read option, or they would dump off a screen. And then they got them to bite on that Pascal touchdown, running the same thing. A play they ran multiple times where the safety comes down in the box or drops back in the box, and you just pump fake, give a little shoulder shrug, and then get Pascal down the sideline. So very, very well-timed offensive plays. And it's just a matter of Jalen just seeing where the safety's at. I don't know if there's an actual number, like, hey, if the safety's 7 yards off the ball, that's because we're considering him. He's going into coverage. He's not blitzing. Overall, man, really happy. I was a little impressed. I think the Steelers did a better job pass rushing than I thought they would. Without TJ Watt, they got some decent pressure. I think they had 3 or 4 sacks on the day. But like I said, I think one of them is on Jalen, just not stepping into the pocket like he should. But overall, man, pretty great play. If I had to pick a negative, it would be our special teams returning still. Just Britton Covey just doesn't seem like he has it, man. Which is crazy because he, they talked about in the game, he had a 97-yard return for a touchdown in the Rose Bowl in college.
One of the best returns I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he looked great in college.
Against Ohio State, who I follow, and he was making more people miss on the football field than you see regularly.
And that's the thing. We're not seeing that now. It's almost like he's catching it. He's not really finding a lane. He's just kind of running, and then he makes a little head fake and then just gets smacked. And it's just
maybe it's just Ohio State's fast.
Yeah.
But they're not NFL fast. NFL is a notch faster.
Right.
Even the SEC or the top elite programs.
It doesn't look like he knows what Smith got what 3 yards on that one, but he catches it and it's like electric. He catches it and just does a little shift, makes a guy fly by him, and then just gets a couple yards and gets out of bounds. Covey's muffed one, which we recovered. It's not a problem of him not being. It's not that I don't feel safe with him back there. It's just I don't think we're getting anything from it. I don't think we're getting a spark from the special teams. As far as the return side, coverage, I think we're doing fine. Heck of a play by Zeke McPherson. Tapping that ball in the 1. And for the fans were going crazy. I've seen this maybe 2 or 3 times before. First time I saw it, I was a little confused. So once he touches it, once McPherson touches that at the 1, Olszewski can pick that up and run 40 yards backwards if he has to. And if he gets tackled 40 yards from where McPherson touched it, he's still down where McPherson touched it. So he did get tackled in the end zone, but wherever it was touched, and that's why you always see kind of a weird thing with punts and stuff. If someone goes up and touches it.
They don't know the rules.
I don't know. I mean, Olszewski did, because you could tell Olszewski was saying do your homework. They were kind of jawing back and forth because the Eagles were calling for a safety. And Olszewski is probably one of the, I'd say, I don't know if I'd call him premier, but he's been talked about a lot on special teams. Belichick loved him on special teams. But yeah, so that's why it's not a safety for people that didn't know. It's he can run as far back as he wants. Doesn't matter. As long as he maintains possession of the ball. But yeah, I go play by McPherson. Normally you see guys kind of muff those. They go to make a crazy play and they kick it into the end zone, or, they forget, they catch it and their foot's down and they throw it, but great play there. Unfortunately, I was hoping it'd lead to a safety, but didn't. But yeah, overall, man, another solid win. I was talking to my wife. I was like, we look good. Like I keep, when you start off hot, it's nerve wracking. Because if you lose a game, if we lose a game, we're 7-1. Still phenomenal position, first place in the NFC. Like we're playing great, but I think there's more pressure every week that you keep going undefeated. You're going to get every team's best. Every team's trying to figure you out. But we look good, man. All sides of the ball, like especially our pass rush to be able to cycle guys in. We saw a little bit from Robert Quinn, not a ton of snaps, but I assumed he'd be worked in slowly. Brandon Graham had a good game, quiet game, but a good game, getting a lot of push, which I think led to a lot of sacks and things like that. But the forced fumble, Reddick looks great, man.
Graham had a sack, right?
Yeah, he had a sack. No, it was kind of a game where like once you see a sack and say it's Reddick or whoever gets a sack, and you're like, oh, great play by Reddick, but then you see the replay and you see Brandon Graham, throw his guy off and take on another block, and he's the guy doing the hard work down in the trenches. But Reddick looks amazing, man. I see him flying off the ball, making inside moves. We had 2 huge shots on that first one from Reddick on 3rd down where he did a stunt. But props to Kenny Pickett. I'm a fan of Kenny Pickett. People were talking about the turnovers. The Steelers aren't going to the playoffs. We didn't think they were going to the playoffs. They didn't know who their quarterback was. It was Trubisky at the start of the season. You're in rebuild or reload or whatever you want to call it. So let Pickett stay in there. Similar to what the Colts are doing. They're putting Sam Ehlinger. He's starting today. And they announced immediately that Matt Ryan will not be back in unless there's injuries. So they said this is Ehlinger's team the rest of the year. That's how it should be. If you're not competing.
They must be playing horrible.
Dude,
Their record is terrible.
Bad. Matt Ryan his arm strength is gone. Like it's just not there, which is crazy because he looked okay last year with not a lot of talent around. So, yeah, but I like Kenny Pickett. Props with him. He took a lot of shots, man, a lot of pressure. He delivered some good balls. But yeah, overall, man. And I did not know this. I knew we were up there, but the number 1 and number 2 corners in the league, QBR, lowest QBR in the league, were number 1 and 2 with Bradbury and Slay. Well, Slay than Bradbury, but
right. So
yeah.
when quarterbacks throw the ball against Slay, they have the lowest QBR in the entire league. And then when quarterbacks throw the ball at Bradbury, it's the 2nd lowest QBR in the whole league. And they're on the same team.
I don't know if that's ever happened. I've never heard.
And we're top 5 in sacks.
Yeah.
Might lead the league. We're top 5 in sacks.
I think as of last week, the Cowboys, I think, did.
Hey, TJ Edwards.
Yeah.
Great. A former undrafted free agent. Gets his hand up, dropping deep, getting depth in his zone, gets his hand up on that ball, leads to an interception. Chauncey Gardner's 4th interception this year.
Yeah.
I want to note Robert Quinn. So Robert Quinn, I saw a couple good pass rushes early on in the game. I think his first pass rush we mentioned around the edge. Man, he's gonna be valuable when we get into playoff football, and you got him coming off the edge.
Dude, we traded a 4th round pick for him. We traded Jalen Reagor for a conditional 4th round pick,
and we're paying him the veteran minimum.
Yeah, the Bears are
in his last 2 years, so.
I love it, man. I love it. He's 32 years old. I love to add another piece like that. And he could be back next year. The whole voiding the contract thing is literally just to, put the power in our position. We void the contract. I think we converted a little bit of money, but it ended up being a bonus. So I think the Eagles are going to pay, a very small cash bonus to him, but the Bears are paying his salary. So we're not paying him much at all. We gave him a little bit of a cash bonus, voided the contract. Depending on how he plays, you could sign him next year to a small deal, another 1 year deal, something like that. But yeah, I love the move. I love the depth. But overall, man, I love everything we're doing. Big thing, obviously, I talked about earlier, Jordan Davis. I'm waiting to hear about that. Hopefully it's nothing crazy. But the good thing is we have depth. That's the reason you bring in depth, because we like to cycle guys around. We run a lot of 5-man fronts. We don't just play a 3-4 or a 4-3. We play multiple schemes. So I like it. I liked what I saw from Marlon Tuiopa.
Tui.
Yeah, we'll call him Marlon Tui. So I liked what I saw from him. Milton Williams had a sack, a lot of push. But I mean, we have a lot of depth. What's that?
I didn't see. I missed Williams' sack. I know he had 6 today.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. The Eagles are first in the NFL in turnover differential.
Yeah.
Plus 14. So we've got 14. We've generated 14 more turnovers on defense than we've given it up on offense. We've turned the ball over twice this year in 7 games, and we've got 16 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's first in the NFL, plus 14. Second place, the closest team to us, is plus 6. So Hurts, the offense that they're running, he is running phenomenally. I'll still say, even after today, I think our biggest question mark is still Jalen passing the football if we get behind big time to an explosive offense.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about beating the Giants. I'm excited for the Giants game because the Giants are a tough team. They're playing very well and they're very confident right now. But I'm thinking about and there's only one place we would see these teams, but I'm thinking about, all right, how do we're playing really, really good. What does that look like when the Chiefs and the Eagles play? Or if we got the Bills and the Eagles, how does that unfold? How do we handle Josh Allen? Can we keep pace with those types of offenses? Can we be precise in the passing game? I think we're going to have to get more precise passing the football. I'm still lacking a little bit of belief in that area, even though he had 4 touchdowns today, but
he seemed to be almost arming some stuff early on. It seemed like a lot of balls were coming out and I guess it would short arm, but just coming out kind of at a low angle, low trajectory, like they were shooting at the ground. He settled in a little bit, but still missing a few throws here and there. Devontae Smith should have caught that ball on 3rd down. It was a little behind him, but he's getting pressure kind of. But that's another one where he should have stepped into the pocket. He kind of waited. He planted his foot and just waited for it to develop, where he could have just kind of stepped up and in rhythm hit him. And that's, he's a 2nd-year player. That's something I think he'll learn over time, over the season maybe. But overall, great play, man. But I agree. That'd be my one. We know we can run the ball. I don't think there's a team in the league that can stop us running the ball. Slow us down a little, sure, but I think that is probably our still biggest question mark. Offensively would be if we go down early to going down 14-0 or whatever to the Jags is different than going down 14-0 to the Bills, Chiefs, some of these higher powered teams. Because then you get to the point where you have to score. You can't trade field goals for touchdowns. So I agree. I think we need to see that, and we might not. We might not see it until if we get into the playoffs. We might not see it until we get to a team who's starting to click. New Orleans Saints looked really good today.
Who played quarterback?
Dalton. Yeah. Kamara, I think
Is Winston hurt still?
He's back this week, but they said they liked what they saw last week from Dalton. Got the team in rhythm, so they rolled with Dalton, and he looked good. I think Kamara had 3 or 4 touchdowns. They look pretty good. Maybe they're starting to get a rhythm. I've heard a ton of rumors of the Packers looking at AJ Green, Brandon Cooks, trying to add someone to the wide receiver core.
AJ Green?
Yeah, that's what kind of. I honestly thought maybe the Bengals would make a move for AJ Green because the price tag I think is very low. They just lost Jamar Chase for probably 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh,
yeah, it's with a fractured hip. And I think there was another one, labrum tear, I think. But they're not putting him on IR. They were going to put him on the IR, so they said that they're confident enough to not put him on the IR. So maybe it's not going to be quite that long. But I thought maybe the Bengals, because they need to stay alive, they can't really afford to go on, if they were, an R record or, 1 loss, 2 loss team, they might be able to just ride it out. But I thought maybe they'd make a move for someone like that. AJ Green doesn't help the Packers. Not the way the Packers need help. I like AJ Green, but he's gonna come in and be your number one?
I don't know. I mean, AJ Green was an absolute animal in his prime, and
Yeah,
um,
5 years ago.
yeah, yeah. But now he's playing in a different offense. I don't know. I kind of think that he I don't know. I think he might have more in the tank than people think, and if he had Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, that would help a lot. I think that he might still be a really good player if
I
he
think
got a volume of opportunities.
Yeah, I think he can play. I'm not saying he can't play at all, but I think where the Packers are at with the Vikings in their division, the Bears actually looked pretty decent today against the Cowboys. They ended up looking at the end. The Cowboys ran away with it, but they put up what 29 points. I don't know if they scored again.
Yep.
Um, they're starting to use Justin Fields the way he needs to be used. They're running the ball. They're running a lot of the read option. They're letting him run. And I think he ran for 80 yards 2 weeks ago, 110 last week, and I don't know what he did this week. I saw he had a rushing touchdown, but they're letting him use his legs instead of trying to drop him back like he's Tom Brady and throw it 55 times a game. So, but if I'm the Packers, I'm not dogging AJ Green. I like him. If you can get him cheap, sure, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's the guy you need to go out to get to save your wide receiver core. I like Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson's been injured a lot, so we really haven't got to see a lot of him. But I think a Brandon Cooks would be the guy to go for. Um, he's in a struggling offense, team that's rebuilding. I would go throw a pick or two at him, get him, and I think he could really, really have a phenomenal year and help the Packers get back. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there based off of what we would have to face in the NFC, for the rest of the season, and then for playoff purposes as well.
Two things. Number one, I want to mention about the team. You said we look good. One thing I think that is really cool that I'm seeing is that we're smart. We're making smart decisions. We're playing smart. And I'll give you an example. Our backup running back in the fourth quarter with the presence of mind to stay in bounds and keep letting the clock run. I've seen that more this year from the Eagles than I've seen in quite some time. It's very little. It's a little thing, but it's smart.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's big. I mean, it's in this game, it doesn't matter as much, if he runs out of bounds. But there are going to be games where it does matter. I saw one where Barkley 2 weeks ago broke it and like wide open and slides down at the 1 yard line, stays in bounds, slides down at the 1 yard. Gene, like it just stuff like that you forget. You're thinking touchdown, stat lines, like it's a score for me. It looks good, like and it's very unselfish, especially when you're looking at a touchdown and not just going in and out of bounds. But yeah, I've seen that this year from us too. Very intelligent, very well disciplined. But yeah, I agree.
Stems from the top. So I think Sirianni's doing a good job. But I think to quote, remember the Titans, attitude reflects leadership. Jalen Hurts, as Bill Cowher said today, is a complete leader. On the field, he's not turning the ball over. He's executing the offense. He's a playmaker. He's emotionally level. On the field, messaging.
These touchdowns, like he throws a 28-yard touchdown, 35-yard touchdown, throws it on a dime. The only thing I've seen Jalen really do and get hyped up is where he he just kind of like looked to the sideline and like crossed his arms, and like that's like the biggest like spike of emotions I've seen as far as him making a crazy play. I love it. And I love the AJ Brown. He got a flag for it, but I love the AJ Brown just because Minka Fitzpatrick, he's a big time playmaker. That's the second one he had with him in the area. And the second touchdown he had, he caught it and he just was doing, the like holding his, saying the corner's small, like going like this. Like, I love it, man. And they talked about it before the game. I was listening to some analysts talking about how this week it's AJ Brown, next week it could be Devontae Smith, and then the next week, teams prepare. They're dropping guys in the coverage, and then we run for 250 yards on them. And Goddard actually had a pretty decent game today, quiet game, because of all the flash and stuff. But I think he had 5-6 catches. So not super quiet. He leads the league in yards after the catch. Yeah, pretty impressive. And I love that he doesn't go out of bounds. I love that he tries to hit people on the sideline because it tires you, man. It's like trying to tackle a big running back, throughout
Yeah.
the whole game. As a safety, okay, like I got to meet him at the sideline. And I know he's not going out of bounds. I like think about that in your head. Like every time I have to face him, I'm hit. Like he's gonna hit me. Like he's not
Yeah.
gonna out of bounds easy. I'm not just gonna bump him. Like he's gonna try to lay me out at the sideline. So I love it. I love that mentality. I think
Hmm.
it fires you up to watch it as a fan. It's got to fire you up even more on the field to see, and I'm a big fan of the quarterbacks. When the quarterbacks get out and they try to lead block, it's like I know it's not smart, but I like the fire. Like I'm not saying go try to like level a linebacker, but like get in the way and try to do something. I think it shows a lot of heart, and it fires your teammates up. So
Yeah. So one thing we can end on this, unless you have something else you want to bring up after, but NFL trade deadline is November 1st. Today is October 30th. Trade deadline
Tuesday,
Tuesday. So Tuesday, like probably 4 p.m. Eastern is when
no, yeah, Tuesday. My bad, Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, so Tuesday, I think it's 4 p.m. Do you think I see and this crossed my mind today because I saw the Raiders got shellacked by the Saints. Like it was 0-28 or something.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm thinking, what the hell's going on with the Raiders? Like they're talented. Um, but their coach is probably gonna get fired.
yeah.
Um, that might be a team firing a head coach that might dump assets, teams like that, 1 week deeper into the season since we acquired Robert Quinn, right? So there's more teams who are even one loss deeper into the season, might be thinking about next year's draft. Do you think Howie will make any more moves?
I don't know, man. I mean, I always would like to say yes. We have draft capital. I'd like to say yes, but it just kind of depends. One on price. One guy that I love that I think, which we don't need. We absolutely do not need him, but it would depend on the price. A guy that I've heard is being shopped is Deron Payne. I gotta imagine that be it somewhat pricey. Um, but they're paying they have so much money wrapped up in that line. They can't afford to pay Deron Payne this offseason. So they're gonna have to either move him or lose him, in the offseason for nothing. So I don't know. I was trying to think of maybe a guy like Cleveland Farrell, which adding Robert Quinn we don't need. I think he'd be a very low. He'd probably be even a later of a pick because he really hasn't um, done a lot so far. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I keep going back to safety. Safety might be a spot that he might make a move for some role player guy. I don't think we're going to make a big splash again or go out and get some guy who's going to get a ton of snaps. But I would like to see a depth guy, maybe a safety. And again, I saw we had a comment on one of our videos about wide receiver. Because last week I said, I would like to maybe see us go. It's nothing against Pascal, or Quez Watkins, but if we can add another guy for a low price that can be our solid number 3, then why not? But I mean, bringing up Raiders.
What if you can get Brandon Cooks for a third, or AJ Green for a fifth or a sixth? Or
Yeah, I'd be okay with that, but I don't know. I don't love the AJ Green. Like a guy, I'd like to see us go get a traditional slot guy. You bring up the Raiders, Hunter Renfrow, I think can play. I think that offense is just in shambles, and I don't think they know what they're doing. They have Devontae Adams, and there's supposed to be chemistry with Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, and they look awful. Devontae's still having a pretty solid year, but they're literally, it's almost like what we saw today. It's just Carr throwing it up in the air, and Devontae's making plays. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think we're going to make any big splash. We definitely don't need a receiver. That's not what I was saying last week. We don't need defensive linemen. We didn't need Robert Quinn. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go get him for a 4th-round pick. I mean, essentially, we traded Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, and to think, like, I don't like when people, like, I know what you're saying. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, Eagles don't need anything. I'm thinking, dude, you know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl? We need all the help we can get. Like,
how hard it is just to get to a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Let them win. Like, it's very, very difficult. We saw with the Bengals this last year. Cinderella story run, somehow got to the Super Bowl, lost, played pretty well, ended up losing on that last play to Aaron Donald. But yeah, it's very, very difficult to get to a Super Bowl. You can go undefeated and then lose your first playoff game.
Yeah, and
So
if we go 10-0 and we lose in the first or second round of the playoffs, no one's gonna remember. No one's gonna give a shit. No one's gonna remember the Eagles were dominating the first 7 weeks. Seriously, nobody cares. It's exciting. It's really exciting right now.
yeah,
You're on top of the mountain. It's like, sweet, we're kicking everybody's butt.
but
But
we have to, let's say hypothetically we got to a Super Bowl, we have to play the Bills or the Chiefs more than likely. Now there could be another team to sneak in there, but those two are obviously the favorites in the AFC.
you would think it would be one of them.
Yeah, you would think. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl, but I'm saying let's hypothetically think of an example of that. Let's say we're in the Super Bowl. Let's say we're against the Chiefs. Do we have the firepower? Do we have the depth of positions? Going out and getting Robert Quinn is huge because if Josh Sweat needs a break, Brandon Graham, all these guys need a break. We can take them out. We can take two guys out and still run a very solid 5-man front.
And how do you beat those guys? How do you beat those quarterbacks?
Pressure them.
Pressure. Hit them. Hit them early. Pressure them.
I think we match up well. Honestly, I think we match up better against the Bills. The Chiefs are just scary good, man. And then they just added Kadarius Toney. We saw I got him from the Giants. He's had a lot of injuries. I know there's some off the field, kind of attitude type things that people have talked about, but Chiefs are just a scary good team, and they're very hard to defend because they do a lot of stuff that we do, not necessarily the RPO, but just very weird angles, very strange design plays, ways to get Kelsey open in the flat. It's an interesting thing, but yeah, I agree. I don't think you can never say, yeah, our team doesn't need anything. We shouldn't make any moves, especially when you have the draft capital. We have 2 first-round picks, and I don't think we need to go make a big splash, but I would like to see us make some type of move. Before the Gardner Johnson, I talked about maybe Jesse Bates, because at the time he wasn't signing franchise tag. He said he wasn't going to play under it. And he didn't have a great season, but he played phenomenal in the playoffs last year. But yeah, I'd like to see us maybe get some safety help just for as depth purposes, not starters. Epps and Johnson. Johnson's really settling in. Each week looks a little bit better. So
yeah, I don't want to mess with any of the starters either, man.
No, we don't need to. We're playing great football.
Maybe a fourth. I'm talking about fourth corner, like a Robert Quinn. Oh, you're our fourth pass rusher. You had 18.5 sacks last year. You can help Brandon Graham stay fresh. You're a veteran. You know how to play ball.
A guy that might be interesting that I've seen maybe on the trade block, who's played pretty well outside of Philly, Sidney Jones, has looked pretty good. And for whatever reason, he's on the trade block. And maybe he's not. Maybe it could just be rumors, people talking. There are guys out there, that I think can play still. Go get some type of veteran who's just a savvy vet that can come in and play. I agree. I'd like to see something like that because you're one injury, God forbid, away from potentially being hurt in the passing game, having a weak spot. So I would like to see a little more depth. But again, I don't think we need anything, but that's not the point. The point is having depth and, trying to obviously just build off of what we've had. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. I don't know that we'll make another move, but I wouldn't be opposed to it at all.
Me neither. I think it would be a good thing. I've heard rumors of Alvin Kamara. I've heard rumors of Kareem Hunt, which I mentioned. It would surprise me if they brought Kareem Hunt in.
Yeah.
It would surprise me just because of the background. But I mean, I'm not, it's not a personal judgment against him. It's just Andy Reid did it, with Vic. He gave him a second chance, and they did it with Kareem Hunt in Kansas City. But I can't see the Eagles doing that. I would be okay with it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the past is the past. But I would like to see maybe a power runner. I would have liked to see Trey Sermon and maybe some of our backs more involved, but we were throwing the ball today. We were scoring so quickly. I don't think Boston Scott had a carry until the fourth quarter when they took Sanders out, which is, Sanders is probably the better back overall, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll keep our eyes on it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Ryan, you have any last thoughts? Anything?
No, we got Thursday game this week against the Texans. So that's big to go up that big. Our starters got a whole quarter off, basically took the whole fourth quarter off. So that's huge. Less wear and tear. So no, Thursday game, Houston, can't take them lightly. They can run the football pretty well. So yeah, that's where we're at. And Brandon Cooks might not be there by the time we hit Thursday. So we'll see.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Bird Brothers, two brothers in Ohio, lifelong Eagles fans, talking Eagles football every week. See ya.